Oh, testing, testing. It was end. Okay, so let us continue with the part 2 of our chapter 22 video, in which this time we are going to look at the first type of questions that is very common in examination. I call it the type 1 question. Okay, now, but before we look at the questions, there is one concept that we need to know, right? Now, for the countries, in order for them to get into the trade, to engage in trade, remember the first thing is that they must both gain from the international trade itself. Okay, now for the trade to be beneficial, now I write here, the opportunity cost of trading must be lower than that of producing the product locally. 係咪啊？一定要平過我自己做啦。如果貴過我自己做，我冇理由噶嘛，係咪啊？ If it is more expensive than me producing it by myself, then why should I buy it? Why don't I just make it instead, right? Now, let's put it into perspective. 好嘛，我哋啦攞啲數字睇睇啦。Now here, type 1 question. This type of question, you have seen it quite a lot of times in a previous video. Okay, when we talk about one resources correspond to X goods, 係咪啊？一個 resources 可以做幾多隻 goods 啊？嗱 ，for example, in 2016, MC question 41, right? It says, the following table shows the amount of toys or cars that country A and country B can produce with the same amount of resources. Now here, it didn't say one, but it did say same amount, right? Same amount. So now, because of time limitation, let me just try to 僭建, okay? Construct something. Okay, I call it the same and same. Now remember, in last video, I talked about if the resources within the same country for both goods are the same, then we can start doing the calculation, which is exactly this case, right? 係咪？呢個 case 就係國家自己嘅 resources 係對等啦，咁我可以傾偈啦。Okay, so if you remember from our last video, the mathematics will go like this. So A, 1T equals to 1.6 C, or 1C equals to this amount of T. Now, for country B, that would be 1T equals to 3C, or 1C equals to 0.33 T, right? So immediately you will see that country A, they will have a comparative advantage in making toys, and country B, they would have a comparative advantage in making car. Okay, now, so you will remember, right? Country A will export toy, and country B will export cars, right? Now, this is the point we were up to for our last video. Now, what about this? What happens to the gain in trade? Now, remember, whether there is a gain in trade, we need to look at something we call the terms of trade. Okay? 即係真係做生意嗰個 terms 啊。Okay? Now, remember, in economics, we assume when you do trading, you use one product in exchange for another product, the barter system, so to speak, right? So let's imagine now the terms of trade. I call it the TOT, 好嗎? Imagine the terms of trade right now is, let's make it simple, 1T in exchange for 1C. 一件胎換一隻車啦，好冇? So what happens? Now look at here. Let's think about country A. Okay, 嗱我哋諗兩樣嘢啫。Country A's opportunity cost of producing one toy. 我哋諗啦，佢整一件胎 ，OK， 佢整一件胎，佢係會maybe I should use another angle, right? Yes, let's use another angle instead. Okay, the opportunity cost of producing one car. 佢整一架車要放棄幾多件胎啊 Okay, remember that will be 0.25 T。係咪要放喺0.625件胎啊 ？Now the opportunity cost of buying one car。好啦，咁而家根據我哋嘅 terms of trade 買一架車，你要用幾多錢啊 ？Of buying is actually 1 T。Do you see that? By buying the car, you are actually paying more。你其實而家蝕咗啊，見唔見啊？你去買呢架車，你放棄多咗玩具啊，見唔見到啊 ？You see, right? You are paying one toy instead of just 0.625 locally， 係咪？自己做可以啦。Therefore, you see, there is a loss for country A。呢個 terms 一架車換一個胎。賺唔到啊 ，OK？ Loss for country A, meaning these terms won't work， 係唔 work 㗎，因為有個蝕錢啊，蝕錢我點會同你做 trade 啊？係咪 ？OK， so it doesn't work. Now, if this doesn't work, let's try to up our game here. OK, let's say the terms of trade. OK, the TOT this time will be 1T to 4C， 好嘛？我哋誇張啲啦 ，1T to 4C。Now this time think about country B。Okay. Now remember, country B will import toy, right？ 係咪啊？佢而家會 import toy， 因為佢唔做 toy 係咪啊 ？So country B's opportunity cost of producing one toy， 佢自己做 toy 係放棄幾多架車啊 ？3 cars。You see, right? But then, under this terms of trade, 1T to 4C, opportunity cost of buying one toy, you would be giving up 4 cars instead. So you see, under this terms of trade, you are also having a loss, but this time a loss for country B。係咪？你今次 country B 會蝕咗喎。Therefore, I'm sorry, this one also won't work， 都唔 work 㗎。OK， 喂，阿 Sir 玩嘢啊？呢個又唔 work， 嗰個又唔 work。So, what would be the working terms of trade? Now, this one, please take some time to copy it down. This is very important。嗱，記住嚟緊呢樣嘢好重要啊！貓屎做乜事？窒添。Remember, a mutually beneficial terms of trade, it should lies between two things. The opportunity cost of exporter and the opportunity cost of importer。 一定要喺 export 同埋 import 中間嗰個人嘅兩個人中間嘅 range 先至賺到。Okay, so let's put it into perspective. Now, this time， 嗱我哋用1T 等於好靚啲啊，係咪啊 ？Remember, country A will export toy, therefore the so-called 嗱，我哋點表達咧？我哋係咁表達嘅。So 1T, it should lies between two numbers. Here, OC of exporter, it should lies between 1.6C, 1T to 1.6C. And, 好啦 who would import toy? Here, country B. And the cost of importer would be 3C. Okay? 好嘛 Or, if you don't like it, you can also use another angle. Let's say 1C. What would be the possible range? It should be 0.33 T. 係咪啊？嗱，今次我哋如果1C 就對幾多個 T 啦？係咪啊？嗱 ，remember country B export car 0.33. The import, this one, either of this will do in examination. 係咪考試問你嘅時候 either of it will do. Now, let's use one example. Let's say this time our terms of trade 1T to 2C. 好嘛？嗱，見唔見到啊 ？2C, this is between 1.6 to 3. 今次喺中間啊，啱唔啱啊 ？So this one will work. Now let's think about it. Country A, 我哋睇下啦。嗱 ，Country A 而家係 export 啊嘛。Country A gain per export. 佢而家每賣一件 toy 佢會賺幾多啊？嗱 ，think about it. According to this terms of trade, by exporting one toy, okay, per export of toy 寫清楚啦，好嘛？每整一件 ，they will receive 2 cars. But remember, internally, their cost 係咪我哋不斷 revenue 減 cost 嘛 ？You get 2C, but you give up 1.6C. So you see, you actually gain 0.4 cars. 好唔好啊？ Now, what about country B? Country B's gain per import of toy. Now, how do we think about it, right? Right now, 好啦 if you need to produce it by yourself, okay, you will be paying 3 cars. But actually, because of trade, you are only paying 2 cars. 你而家咪買啊，你唔使自己做啊，係咪好似變相你賺翻3個 C 翻嚟啊 ？Therefore, by trading, by importing toy under this terms of trade, country B actually gained 1 car. 得唔得 ？So, what would be the total gain? 哎呀 ，keyboard 窒添。Yes, what would be the total gain here? The total gain will be 0.4 plus 1 equals to 1.4C. 好嘛 ？So that's why we skip one question in our previous video because now you can do it. 而家你就做到啦。Now do you see? With a terms of trade, we would be able to determine individual gain through the trading 係咪？透過個 trading 賺幾多啦 ？Okay. Now, but there is one thing I want to so let's see. Let's refer to that question. Now, it's actually in a previous page. Question 2012. Question 38. 38啦。Okay, let's see. Consider the terms of trade of a good between 2 countries. Now, suppose we know the opportunity cost, but without knowing the terms of trade. 好啦，而家冇 terms of trade. Can we determine the gain of each country from trading? No, 我哋決定唔到啊。OK， 我哋決定唔到究竟佢哋每個人會賺幾多啊 ？Of each country, we cannot determine. Now, let's look at 1 and 3. Okay, now the possible range of terms of trade. Yes, we already can. 係咪？我知道 export， 我知道 import 啦嘛，係咪？ So number 1 is correct. Now what about number 3? The total gain of both countries. 知唔知啊？ Let's try it. Now here we know it's 1.4, right? Now I think if you're sensitive, you would know how do we calculate 1.4? It's actually 3 minus 1.6 here. Now, let's try another terms of trade, which also work. Okay. Here, sorry. Terms of trade. 1T equals to 2.5C. Let's say 2.5C. 好嘛？好啦，睇住啦噃。This time, country A's gain per export of toy, 咁咪代翻數落去咯。Would be 2.5C minus 1.6C. And that would be 0.9C. Now, country B's gain would be 2.5, 3C minus 2.5C. And that would give us 0.5C. What happens to total gain? It doesn't change. Do you see here? So, you see, actually, whatever the terms of trade, as long as it is within the range of mutually beneficial range, right? The total gain, you do not need the terms of trade to determine. In fact, you just need the opportunity cost of importer and exporter in order to know the total gain. Therefore, this question answer would actually be 1 and 3. 一同三係答案啦，好冇？ So this is the way we determine. Now make sure you know this sentence 好緊要啊！ It should be between the opportunity cost of exporter and importer. OK， 最記住喎，係中間喎，唔可以窄界。It cannot be just because that would not be mutually beneficial. OK， that would not be mutually beneficial. OK， so I suggest let's look at some real past paper example to consolidate our training. All right. All right, let's move on. Now to the real questions here. 好啦，我哋真係睇啲題目咯噃。好嘛，嗱 let's do it in order. Okay, now first of all, 2002, question 45 here. 好啦，嗱 the following table shows the output of X and Y per unit of resources. 見唔見啊？一個 resources 對幾多隻 goods 啊？ Okay, this is the question that we like, the type of question that we like. So 嗱，我喺度改算啦。That will be one. That will be one， 好嘛？嗱，咁啊，而家對口啊，傾到偈啦，係咪 ？Because resources within the country match each other， 係嘛？所以啦，大家對到口啦。So let's do very quickly here. For country A, it would be 1x equals to 3y, or 1y equals to here 幾多啊？1y equals to 0.33x. For country B, it would be 1x equals to 2y, or 1y equals to 0.5x. Okay, so let's see which of the following term would be mutually beneficial. Okay, now first of all, 1x 2y, 1x 3y, these two are just the opportunity cost. 啱啱窄界啊。So any of this would not be mutually beneficial because one of them will not gain anything. 其中一個 country 會賺唔到任何嘢啊 ，OK？ One of them will gain nothing. Therefore, this is not mutually beneficial. 唔係 mutually beneficial 㗎。Now, what about this? 2x equals to 5y, meaning it will be 1x equals to 2.5y, which lies between 2 and 3 here. 嗱，見唔見啊？ The possible range should be 2y to 3y, which 2.5, it's within the range. It's within the range. Okay, 好嘛? So this is the way we do it. Now, moving on to next question. Okay, next question. Now, the following table shows the amount can produce if all the resources. 嗱，記得啦，要小心啲啊。When they say all, don't write one, but we write all. 真係全部 resources 啊。Because when it says all, then you need to be very careful with absolute advantage. Okay, 好嘛？ Which exactly is the case? Now here, option 唔好計咗數先，好嘛？ Now, the opportunity cost would be 1g equals to 3s, or 1s equals to 0.33g. Now, for country B, it will be 1g equals to 2s, or 1s equals to this. Okay, 好嘛？ Now let's see. Country A has an absolute advantage in producing shoes, right? Now, what they're trying to do you see? Country A, 30 versus 20. 好似真係做多啲喎。Now, the problem is, what does it mean by all? 即係幾多 resources 啊 ？No, you don't know, right? 你唔知道 all 係幾多啊 ？Maybe this is 100, maybe this is a 1, or just the opposite. Maybe this is 100, this is 1, right? Without knowing the amount of resources, we cannot conclude anything about the productivity of the country, right? 所以啦，一號仔唔啱啊 ，this is a big question mark because of the word all。嗱，所以大家記住啊，以後見到 all 係要好敏感嘅，得唔得 ？Now here， 咦，咁既然一唔啱，即係二三啦，係咪 ？Answer should be C。嗱 ，let's look at 2 and 3 here. Now, according to the principle of comparative advantage, now we see country A has a comparative advantage in making shoes, right? So they will export shoes. 梗係啦，佢會集中做 shoes 然後去出口啊嘛，係咪 ？Yes. Now country B would gain from exporting garments here, 係咪 ？If can be exchanged for more than 2 shoes, 係嘛？我哋頭先咪講咯 ，the range should be bigger than exporter. 要大過 export 嗰個人先至有得賺啊嘛 ，right? So right now they export garment 1 to 2. If they can exchange for more than 2 shoes, then they will gain, right? 所以答案啦2、3啦，好嘛 ？Okay, just like that, just like that. Now next one. Next one. Here, 2010, question 46. Here, it shows the amount per unit of input 啦，又係啲 per unit of input 啦 ，right? So 嗱，今次 per unit 即係 one 啦，係咪 ？It should be one. It should be one. Now, let's calculate very quickly their costs. All right, country A, 1G equals to 4T, or 1T equals to 0.25 G. Now, for country B, 1G equals to 2T, and 1T equals to 0.5 G. Right? 好啦，我哋諗啦。When trade opens up between the two countries, okay, 1T can be exchanged for 0.4 G. 好啦，我哋諗啦。The terms of trade, it would be 1T equals to 0.4 G. Now, which lies between 0.25 and 4, so it works. 好啦，我哋或者倒轉嚟寫啊。1G would be equals to 應該幾多啊？0.4 ，OK， 0.4 divided by， 等等先啊，撳個機先啊。1 divided by 0.4 2.5。Excuse my poor maths， 啲數學太渣啦。OK， 好啦 ，so here。According to the principle of comparative advantage, right? Now, first of all, according to the principle, we know that country B will export garment, country A will export toy. OK， 嗱呢個肯定㗎啦，得唔得 ？So here, let's see. Country A's gain from trade per unit of export， 我哋睇下啦。咁佢 export 而家 country A export 啲咩啊 ？Country A will export toy, right? So one toy, what would be the gain? Here, the terms of trade is 0.4， 咁 0.4 個 G 咯，減翻 0.25 咯。The opportunity cost, right? 0.15 G, which is exactly the answer we want. Answer is A here， 已經係啦。嗱，不過我哋計埋其他好嗎 ？Country B's gain from trade per unit of export.It's 1 unit of garment. Now, this is quite tricky. 我哋睇睇啦。For country B， 好啦，我哋睇下跟 country B 啦。What would they export? They will export garment, meaning the gain will be here 2.5 T minus 2 T. They will gain 0.5 T. Now, but some of you, hey, Mr. Chen.We are talking about garment. We are not talking about toy. So is there a way to convert the numbers into garment? Yes, but let's do it later in our final video when we talk about the advanced questions. Okay? 好嘛？我哋去到最後先講啦，好嘛？ But let me tell you, after doing the conversion.Here is still wrong, okay? Actually, it would equate to 0.25 garment. OK， 我遲啲話你聽點計，好嘛？ Now, what about C? Gain from trade per unit of import. 好啦 ，country A import 啦 ，import 賺幾多啊？嗱 ，import right now here import garments, right? So the gain would be 4T minus 2.5T, right? That would be 1.5T, which is not 2. And country B gain per unit of import. They will import toy, right? 好啦，咁即係會點啊？ The gain will be 0.5 here, 0.5 G minus 0.4 G, and that will be 0.1 G. Again, you see, right? We are talking about toy. We are not talking about a garment, right? Then how do we convert? Now, after the conversion, it should be 0.4 G, T, right? But later, let me tell you how to do it later. 咁啊，遲啲先講啦。Oh, actually, no, this is not 0.4. It should be 0.2. Sorry, it should be 0.2 T. Okay, 好嘛？嗱 again, we will talk about that later. Now, next question. 2011. Okay, question 46. Now, the following table shows the amount of food and clothing that country A can do by producing all their resources. So let's write down all. Remind ourselves, this is all. 用晒所有 resources 啦。So, country A, 1F equals to 0.67. C, or 1C equals to 1C equals to 1.5. Oh, actually, we have done this question before. Okay, 原來我哋之前做過㗎。That would be 1F equals to 0.5 C, or 1C equals to 2F. Last time we talked about the question, the answer is B, but we didn't explain. Now this time you know why, right? 係嘛? We will not trade with country B when the terms of trade is 1.2 unit of food, right? Immediately, you see, right? 係嘛? It is not within the range. It is not within the range. Besides, remember, country A would export. They would export clothing, right? Now think about it. What happens when they export clothing? They would get 1.2 food, but they need to give up 1.5 food. Therefore, they are actually losing 0.3 units of food in order to engage in trade. So no way, 唔做，一定唔做. Okay, it's not within the range. It's not within the range. Okay, so answer would be B here. Now we are into DSE region, right? Now, first of all, it shows output per unit of resources. 嗱，我唔畫啦，好嘛？你知道自己係1啦，中間。Okay, you know all are 1, right? Now let's see. Let's calculate the costs first. Country A, 1T would equals to 1.5 M, or 1 M would be 0.67 T. Now for country B, 1T would be 3 M, or 1 M would be 0.33 T. So we know country A would would export tablet. Country B would export and focus on making mobile phones, right? Hold on, let's see. We need to calculate the total gain from trade of country A. Hold on, country A will be exporting tablet, right? So let's see. Right now, the terms of trade would be 10T equals to 25 M, right? So if 1T equals to 1.5 M, we know 10T would be 15 M for country A. So what would be the gain? Gain from export of toy would be here. Terms of trade is 25 M minus opportunity cost 15 M. You will gain 10 units of mobile phone. Answer D。OK， 好嘛？答案就係 D 啦，就咁計嘅啫。So you see, for this type of question, really just keep doing it. Just keep using the method that we have taught. You have a common resources, right? As long as the resources, they stay the same, then you can start doing things, right? 好嘛？好啦，繼續啦。Next question. Number of toy and number of clothes can produce with 1 unit of resources. 但係咁你中間加翻行啦，好嘛？我唔加啦 ，OK？ 中間加翻行啦。Actually, it's quite easy. It's quite easy to do it. Okay, here resources 1. Okay, so they're common. Now let's say country A will be 1T equals to 1C. 哇，呢啲最開心啊，最易計啊，唔使計嘅。Okay, 1T equals to 2.5C or 1C equals to 0.4T. Okay, 好嘛？ So now the terms of trade. The terms of trade will be 1T to 2C, right? 好嘛? So let's see. Now, first of all, country A will export toy. 平啲啊，係咪啊？ Country B would export 喂，唔好窒住 would export clothing, right? 好啦，咁我哋睇下發生咩事啦。Now, country A will gain 5 units of toy per import. 好啦， country A will import clothing, right? So the terms of trade 1T to 2C or 1C equals to 0.5T. So let's see how much they will gain. Actually, it will gain 1T minus the terms of trade 0.5T. They will actually gain 0.5 toy. Okay, so A is not correct. Now B, country A per export. Now let's see export. How much do they gain? Country A export, right? The terms of trade, you get 2C. Your opportunity cost is 1C. Therefore, you gain 1 unit of cloth. 係嘛？所以 B 唔啱啦。Now C, country B per unit of import. Country B, what would they import? They would import toys, right? So what would be the gain? 2.5C minus 2C. That would be 0.5C. Which would be the answer we want? Now, what about D? Country B will export toys. 唔係啊 ，Country B will export clothes, right? 錯咗啦已經。Okay, no need to explain. Alright, 係咪？嗱，見唔見啊？做嚟做去3幅皮啫，其實。Okay, now next one. Finally, I think we only have 2 more to go, and then we call it an end for this video. Okay, now here, why I put some short questions here so that you know how to write it. Okay, now let's think about the answers first. Now it asks which good would country B export according to comparative advantage. Okay, now first of all, let's brainstorm the figures first. Here, per unit of resources, meaning resources, that will be 1, that will be 1. 好嘛？好啦，我哋諗到先。For country A, 1P equals to 0.25 watch, or 1 watch equals to 4P. For country B, 1P equals to 0.5 watch, or 1 watch equals to 2P. Right? So immediately, we know that country B, it should, right? Country B, it should export. It should export a watch because of comparative advantage, right? Now, for question B here, suppose country A and country B trade at an exchange ratio 2 watch. So the terms of trade would be 2 watch equals 5 paper, meaning that would be 1 watch equals to 2.5P, or the other way around, it would be 1P equals to 0.4 watch. Okay, either way will do. Either way will do. 好嘛? Now, we already know the answers, right? 係咪計個 gain per import, right? We already know the answer. Now the problem is we are talking about short questions. If you've written this kind of table, no one will know what is going on. 冇人知你發生咩事㗎。So learn to write them. For part A, the easiest way is to write down every single opportunity cost. Okay, we say country A's opportunity cost of producing one paper. We know the answer would be 0.25, right? But remember, show your working. How do you get 0.25? Remember, is 3 divided by 12. OK， 好啦，所以啦，其他都係啦。Then same for country B. Would be here. How do we get 0.5? Is 4 divided by 8. And country B's? And that would give us, I think, is, yes, A divided by 4, 2P. Therefore, we know that country B would export watch since it has comparative advantage in making watch. OK 得唔得？因為佢做 watch 平啲啊，所以佢會專注做 watch and export. OK 得唔得？ So this is part A. Now what about part B? Now you are given the terms of trade will be 2 watch equals to 5 paper, meaning that would be 1 watch equals to 2.5p. 好嘛？ Now calculate the gain per unit of import of country A. Which one would country A import? They would import watch, right? So the per unit gain of import of watch for country A would be like this. Remember, its own opportunity cost will be 4p. Now it only needs to pay 2.5p. So it will gain 1.5 units of paper per import of watch. Okay? 好嘛? So this is the way we present our answers. OK? 我哋咁 present 㗎啦。好嘛？好快脆做埋最後一條，我哋就收工啦。Now, for question 15. No, 2015, question A7 here. Now, first of all, they use all their resources. 我僭建呢度算啦，好嘛？嗱，記得係 all 啦。So, we need to explain whether country B has an absolute advantage. The answer is no. The reason is because we are uncertain about the amount of resources. Therefore, we cannot conclude the productivity, right, of the countries. 我哋唔知邊個做得快啲，邊個做得慢啲啊？ So no, we are uncertain. Now here, 好啦，佢俾咗個 TOT 你啦，係咪 total gain? So first of all, let's do the maps here. 好啦，嗱 present 嗰啲自己搞啦，好嘛？ Now here, remember country A, it would be 1R equals to 0.2C, or 1C equals to 5R, or 1R equals to 我冇計錯啊，所以 yeah 0.5C, or 1C equals to 2R, right? 係咪？ So you will see, right? 睇下先。The rice exporting country export this kind. Now calculate of the gain from trade, total gain from trade of the clothing exporting country. right? Now, we know the terms of trade will be 12R equals to 3C, meaning that will be 1C equals to 4R, right? The clothing exporting country, 邊個會 export clothing 啊？而家我哋根據 it should be country B, right? 係嘛？ So the per unit gain of country B for exporting clothes， 好啦，佢每 export 一個 clothing 會賺幾多啊？ It should be 4R minus 2R， 係咪啊？ Now 睇下先 ，total gain from trade， 好啦 ，per unit each unit of clothing, right? So how much are they exporting? The total gain， 好啦，每一件你會賺2個 R 好嘛？So total gain will be to be 2R. How many clothing are you exporting? We are exporting 3 units of clothing. Here, you see, right? 3 units of clothing. And that would give us 6 units of rice. That would be the total gain for country B, which would be the clothing exporting country in our case. All right? So you see, for this video, we look at type 1 question. In fact, type 1 question is just very mechanical. You just need to keep doing the mathematics and then it will be done. All right, so for next video, we are going to talk about type 2 questions, which in my opinion is a little bit more difficult, but it's not difficult at all. Okay, so until then, I will see you again in next video. See ya.